Hello, everyone. Welcome to the pre-show of the Codex podcast. As usual, I am your host, Sonny Kruger. I'm joined by my co-host today, Dan Kelly.
It's me!
That's right. It's you, Dan Kelly. So, let me hit that opener. So today, later on, when we get to the actual show of the Codex podcast, we will be reviewing Cable, Blood and Metal.
Oh, you got a copy of it.
Yeah.
Is that the singles or did they do a trade of it?
Singles.
No. There's only 2 issues.
Yeah, so it's only 2 issues and about 40, somewhere around 42 pages each. So that's what we'll be reviewing today.
I imagine if it's in a trade, it's probably in a trade of like collected Cable stories. I don't know.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Or one of those epic collections. Yeah, like I said, it wouldn't just be alone, it'd be along with others. But yeah, so I actually have
2 issues of this and 5 issues of this and 1 issue of this and a backup story from this and 3 panels from this and
exactly. Yeah, so I got the issues actually. Not something I usually do, but yeah, for that one I have it. And we'll be having, of course, random panel of the week. We'll be having also someone join the F list. Dan, I picked out someone specifically who would hate the 2 of us.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm like, I gotta put him on when it's Dan and I. And then, of course, we got some comic book news. Got a lot of DC news, a lot of DC updates. So
yeah, a lot of stuff coming out the past like 2 days.
Yeah, of course. That's how it usually is. Well, at least it was the past couple days because a lot of times it's Wednesday. Like we have the schedule, and then Wednesday's all the big news. And like, now we got to add it.
Yeah, I see myself, and I'm just like, oh, here's a story. Send. I'm like, there's another one. Send. I'm like, there's another one. Let me send this to Sonny. Send.
Dan, it is always appreciated. Sometimes we look at I'm like, man, it's a slow week. And then sometimes, thank you. Something to put.
It's Slab the Sal guy.
Hey, Slab.
What's up?
Hey, Sal. Good seeing you. And then, of course, we'll be having, it's Sal. So, of course, he gives me the info. So, we will be having Variant Insanity.
Yeah, me and him are going to the shop tomorrow.
He's going to get some good stuff. Show him off on Comics Unleashed on Saturday.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I see.
Oh, what's up, Richard?
Hey, Richard. Yeah, so we got that, and then for right or wrong, of course, Dan, you'll be the man with the 5 statements this week.
Yes, got him. I actually wrote them. I just been keeping a little note thing on my phone and just putting them in there as I come up with them. So I actually got 6 of them. So I'll pick 5 tonight.
All right.
Yeah, finish my meat.
Sales, finish his meatball. So
5 tonight. One for next time. One of them I had to rewrite because it was something I was like, all right, well, this kind of goes with something that was in the news like 2 weeks ago. So let me rewrite this a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It happens sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you have the perfect week and then something happens and it's like, oh, now I can't use it.
Yeah.
Every now and then to like an F-lister, I'll be like, oh, it was the perfect time. Sometimes I see them and I save them for specific times of the year. And I see Mr. Keith there. Hey, Mr. Keith.
What's going on?
Glad to have everybody joining us. And you know what? I forgot. Earlier today, there was a storm, and then I said, wait a minute. It's mail call.
Oh!
That's right. I had something, and first, the bag was like all wet, but it was good and strong. So I pulled it out, and my comic book was in perfect condition. I got Batman Curse of the White Knight.
Nice. Now I've only read. That's not the first one, is it?
Oh, this is the second one.
I've only read the first one.
So
I read the first one, and then I read that like 1 issue Mr. Freeze one that they did.
Okay, I think the Mr. Freeze issue might be included in this one as well.
What I read was excellent.
Because it said it was like I think it includes that one shot, yeah. But Batman White Knight was what I reviewed on the first episode. I love it. And then last week was the 4-year anniversary of the Codex podcast. And then ever since I read it, I was like, oh, I'm interested in reading the sequel. And I'm like, 4 years have passed, and I still haven't gotten that sequel. So I got it. It's in the collection, and one day I will certainly be reading it.
Hey, what's up, Adam?
Hey, and that's right. I did. I whipped it out, and it was, well, the package was all wet, but the goods were all good and dry. So,
I got them a couple years ago at a small convention that they had somewhat close to me, and the person had it priced. It was the complete set of the first one, just White
oh,
Knight,
nice.
and then the Mister Freeze one, and they had it for like $20 or something. And I looked at it, I
Oh,
was like,
that's good.
and I was like, the first issue's worth more than that alone, I think. So I picked it up, and yeah, it was real good. And then they just kept doing so many, and they'd already done some at that, a few of them at that point, and they've just been doing, kept doing so many more. I just haven't had a chance to catch up on them.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I at least need to get to the sequel. It's been 4 years since I read the original, and yeah, because I know there's another one with Harley Quinn. There's one with Batman Beyond. So I'm like, let me at least get to the sequel.
Yeah, yeah. It's just there's so much stuff that comes out, and there's only so much money.
Yeah, so much money, so much time too. When we're reading this, reading that, I'm trying to look if it mentions. It does not mention having it. It doesn't mention the issues, but I'm before when I looked on Amazon, it was mentioning like that it has the Von Freeze one shot.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I think that came out between the first one and the second one.
Okay, so
I
then
think it was like White Knight, and then the Mister Freeze one, and then Curse of the White Knight. Then they've done all the other ones too. So.
yes, they've done a lot. Yeah. Looking at it, looks like that's Mr. Freeze. All right. So it looks like it has the 8 issue story first, and then the Mr. Freeze one shots at the end. Well, how
Maybe they
they
came
have it.
after the second one. I don't know.
Not too sure, but that's how they have it included. Maybe because obviously the
Yeah,
story is to focus
yeah,
on the curse, and like, hey, here's an extra.
true.
So, pretty cool extra. I will take it. All right, Dan. Now, what else? Yeah. So this weekend, let's get on to the usual stuff. I want to mention where to find everybody. First of all, you can find Codex. We're on all the socials at the Codex Station. And if you want some stuff, if you want to get some merch, if you want to meet the team and all that jazz, just go to www.thecodexstation.com.
Got to get Jamie to make that T-shirt of the Slab Fairy T-shirt that I drew up for Sal.
Oh, I gotta see that, man. I'm looking forward to it. And Dan, if you're looking to find Dan Kelly, just go to at Dan Kelly Art.
Yes, check it out on Instagram. I got a stack of sketch covers I'm working on now. That some stuff is new stuff I'm drawing on them. Some stuff I'm like taking older stuff that I drew. Where I'm redrawing it on there, like on the sketch cover to, making some changes to it, kind of taking some stuff where I was like, all right, I drew this a couple years ago, but let's see if I can do something different with it now, or something better with it. As like anything, you change and you get better the more you do something. So sometimes like take a look back and see if I can improve on some older stuff. Plus I just got so many damn sketch covers. I'm like, I just just kind of want to bang a bunch of these out and get them out of here, so it makes it a lot quicker too.
Nice. And then one of these days, like we said, we'll work on something together. Before we talk in our chat, some
Yeah,
characters. But we won't talk too much about that.
yeah.
And in case anybody wants to follow me or just look at stuff I do, you can just type in my name, Sonny Kruger. Type it in and Google, Yahoo, all that should lead you to stuff with me.
Remember, you
Even
got to
Space
type it
Gemini
in
about me.
the world famous Sonny Kruger.
I actually haven't typed it in. I don't know what would show up.
Let's find out.
The world, because I know Sonny Kruger, it'll be me. But the world famous Sonny Kruger, it should still be me.
It comes up with the world famous Sonny Kruger in Google. Comes up with Bold Journey magazine, Meet Sonny Kruger, IMDb, Sonny Kruger.
There you
Canvas
go.
Rebel Magazine, Meet Sonny Kruger. Oh, and there's the nice posed picture of you.
Ah, nice. Yes, the hand. Yeah.
The Napoleon Dynamite. Now do this. I think that's the one.
That is the yeah. That's the one. I'm gonna have to put that on the backs of books. You know, like my
Yeah.
author picture.
Oh, let's see. Then we have Instagram Sonny Kruger, Shout LA, Meet Sonny Kruger, writer slash actor slash director slash podcast host.
Host.
Wow, that's impressive. Facebook, I interviewed Chicago filmmaker Sonny Kruger about his latest ... If you want to find out what it is, you'll have to Google it and click on it.
Yes, I'm teaching. I'm teaching the internet to know who I am.
Yes. That's called a teaser right there.
Yeah, and I think IMDb, when you first go to IMDb, it says that I'm known for, I think it says the series about series first, and it says the Kodak Station, and then it says something else to like an acting thing. I think it says Movements is like the third one, but make sure I'm like, you got to put either a series about series or Kodak's first. It has to be one of those. Those are the first two that have to be mentioned.
Let's see what happens if I type into Google the world famous Dan Kelly.
Look who's in the comments. Hey, Boosh.
Hey, what's up, Boosh? Yes, if I type that in, it comes up Dan Kelly, sometimes credited as Dan Kelly without the EY, is a lighting designer slash director who has served as such on Sesame Street and related productions since 1996. Kelly won a Daytime Emmy Award for his work on the show in 2004, among multiple nominations for such since 2000.
So that's how you got those slabs next to. That's how you got that collection, huh? All those Sesame Street episodes.
Yeah, and then a bunch comes up with Kelly spelled Kelly, Dan Kelly musician on Wikipedia, Dan Kelly sportscaster on Wikipedia, Dan Kelly songs on Instagram.
But I know there was a fighter in UFC. His name was Dan Kelly. He was
there also used to be a magician too, because I found it years ago where it's like, Dan Kelly magic or something, and I post that every once in a while. So yeah, apparently there's a lot of Dan Kellys out there.
Well, for all the Dan Kellys, for the mixed martial artists, for the Sesame Street directors, you're my favorite one.
Thanks, but there's only one Sonny Kruger.
That's right, the one and only.
Yeah.
And every now and then I've looked at others who have used my name. It's usually like a nickname. I'm like, that's not their real name. On the one, it's on my birth certificate. It is my real name, and I don't plan to change it. Yeah. I remember even before one time in school for something. I think it was before I made my communion, and they're like, "Oh, what's your real name?" It was a person who had never been. I don't know who it was, and like writing down the names. Like, "Oh, what's your real name?" I'm like, Sonny Kruger, and then like, "No, your real name." I'm like, "My real name is Sonny Kruger." I'm like, "No, not your nickname, your real name." I'm like, "My real name is Sonny Kruger." So my mom's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "I need his real name." And she's like, "His name is Sonny Kruger." And she's like, "No, not his nickname." My mom's like, "His real name is Sonny Kruger."
Okay.
And then they spelled it. And then the lady, like, they made like a little video of it, and when it showed like the names of all the kids, they had me spelled Sony Kruger. I was like, they just couldn't get it right.
God, you need to find a child actor, and you need to make a short like that.
Yeah,
you can dress up as the nun.
Yeah, you know, she wasn't. I never actually dealt with nuns.
Yeah, but that would make it funnier. You as a nun with the beard and everything.
Just the full-on beard, and it'll be like those camera videos I do, like where I have the beard. Just nobody mentions it. It's like everyone just knows to stay silent. Just ignore the beard.
It's like the Bistro Huddy videos, and the one guy, Drew Talbert, plays all the roles.
Yeah, people do it. Yeah, so I'll start doing some stuff. We have many ideas. You know, I've got a notebook. This is my notebook of Codex stuff, of all the notes, all the episodes. And then I got another notebook with my Dexter on there, RIP. But of all like notes for books, or not books, no. This is only for film stuff. All the film notes, some for the TikTok stuff, some for like a series about a series, filming things. Got my notebooks. But yeah, so many ideas, many things to do. But before we jump onto this actual show, everybody, we've got something for you, and that is
Chlamydia. Oh, no.
I don't have that for everybody, but we've got comic books. And
Yeah.
Dan, I'll let you take this one away.
All right, yeah, so this is our June giveaway. There's still time to enter it if you are so inclined to. So we got 3 books. We have What If Volume 1, number 37. First time Shala Ball gets the power cosmic as she becomes a character named Starglow. She, of course, will be the Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie. So it ties in with that. We also have Marvel Age issue 12, which is the first appearance of the black costume for Spider-Man in the concept art that was drawn for it.
What a great cover that one has.
Yeah, it's a great cover too. Yeah, the Mike Zeck Secret Wars cover. But it features like I said, the first black costume in the concept art that was created by a fan, and Jim Shooter bought it. Where's the book filled with action figure torture? He keeps that one under his pillow.
I don't know who you're talking about.
And then the big one, Marvel Spotlight number 28. That is the first solo Moon Knight story, the first appearance of Marlene, the first appearance of Crowley, the first appearance of his multiple personalities, Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley. So it's a pretty big one to have, So all you got to do for those is go find this video with this title card on our YouTube page. Go check it out on Instagram. Make sure that you're subscribed to us on there and tag someone in it. And then you get entered. And you can enter as many times as you want. Every person you tag is one entry for you. And then hopefully they will subscribe and they will tag people and so on and so forth. So, help us get to 2,000 followers. That's what our goal is by the end of this year. We're sitting a little over 1,600 now, I think. So
we're getting there. Thank you.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, man. This month's contest has a lot of entries.
Yeah, I know. I think Jamie said the other week had like 800 some entries.
Yeah, so
not 800.
Good luck.
800 entries, but still, that's still pretty good.
So, like I said, you tag 100 people, you get 100 entries.
Yeah, if we had 800 people entering, then we would have flown past 2,000.
One day.
And I've already got. I think I do 3 books for next month. So I already got 2 of them. So just looking for one more. But they're 2 pretty good ones I got already.
Nice. Well, before you know it, the month will come to an end. Wait, what day? Who said the limb theory?
I suggested a new. Booge. I suggested a new segment for the podcast that would be called Sonny's Toy Box. And what it would be is he would hold up the box of toys and he would reach in and just pull out a random toy body part. And then whoever's on with him, me or Sal or Gary or Mike, would have to then guess what action figure that body part came from.
I don't know how we get that show because mine are in good shape.
Yeah.
Every now and then there's a finger missing, but the finger's just long gone and the tails are long gone.
But see, the funny part of that is because even if the person on with Sonny guesses it right, there's no way to know because Sonny doesn't know the names of his action figures.
Only a few. There's a few that I was like, wait, does anybody know his name?
That's funny when you're showing them off and like, I got this guy, I don't know what his name is, and Gary and Mike are like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Check that out. Yeah, they're From the Vault action figures. Yeah, there was one of the characters, I think even in the picture, the thumbnail for it, and I don't think he even had a name. Bruce says that would be a brilliant segment.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't know the figure's name because he came from like a place called like Disney Quest, and it was just like create your own character, and there was no name for him. So yeah, that was just an unknown.
They produced an action figure for it. The character has a name.
Hey, it was just made. I don't know how. One
day,
like,
I don't know. It's just another body to me.
Just another victim, another nameless victim.
Nah, it's spoken like a true serial killer.
And with that,
I don't want to know their names. They're not people to me.
Okay, and now it's time to start the actual show. All right, guys, here we go. So, welcome to the actual show, everyone. Like you probably know, I'm your host, Sonny Kruger. I'm joined by my co host, Dan Kelly. We had a fun pre show today. I even had a mail call where I showed that I got Batman, Curse of the White Knight. Me and Dan were chatting quite a bit. And now we get on to this actual show where we will be reviewing Cable, Blood and Metal. We'll be having somebody who hates bearded men join the F list. His name is Beard Hunter. We also got a random panel of the week. It's about watching movies. Dan will be the man with the right or wrongs, 5 statements. We'll be having Variant Insanity. But first, I will start everyone off with the rundown. One might even call it a miracle if you're a huge Mr. Miracle fan, because Mr. Miracle is getting his own TV show. It's set to be an animated series. It's set to be really based on the one of the Tom King Mr. Miracle series, and he's set to be one of the main producers for it. And other news, DC's been having a lot going on. James Gunn has been releasing a lot of news, a lot of updates. Supergirl is not going to be called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's going to be called, the new movie Supergirl will just be called Supergirl. Updates on the Batman movie that they're still working on the script. James Gunn doesn't want to have a movie out. He wants to make sure that when it comes to scripts, that he loves the script, that he knows it's going to be amazing. So the Batman sequel will still take a while before it comes out. And then speaking of like DC, speaking of Batman's villain, Clayface, as an actor who's going to play him. Tom Rise Harries is set to play Clayface in the series. And then for you Twilight fans, a little bit of Twilight fans, for you Twilight Zone fans. It was Robert Pattinson and then the word Twilight.
All right. It's okay if you like Twilight, Sonny. To each their own.
I like my vampires to burn in the sun, like me. When I go in the sun, I don't glow. I burn. But the Twilight, no sparkles. I would take it. I would rather sparkle when I go into the sun, but no, I burn. Richard says the Batman 2 was pushed to 3037. That may be true. I wonder what will we get first, the Batman 2 or Grand Theft Auto 6? I don't know. But
at least they're working on Grand Theft Auto 6, right?
Yeah, still working on it. Yeah, it should be out. Oh, yeah, but
I mean, presumably they're working on it. They could just be like, they could just be going to Chili's for margaritas every day, and like, F them gamers, they'll get it when they get it.
They could be saying, because Batman 2 is, they're saying it's being written, but it could be like, I wrote another sentence today, and the next day, hey, I wrote half of a sentence. We don't know.
Yeah, like, yeah, technically you're writing it.
Yeah, I did work on it today. A full 4-word sentence.
Yeah.
But the Twilight Zone is what I was going to say. If you Twilight Zone fans, the Twilight Zone is getting a mini-series.
Yes, a comic mini-series.
That is right. A 5-issue comic mini-series. It's set to be in black and white pages. Is going to be released by IDW. And issue number 1 will be called Blank. And it will be written by Dan Waiters. And it will be drawn by Morgan Beam. And for all 5 issues, it's going to be a bit different. The first one is going to be called Blank. It looks like mostly like a man surrounded by characters with just blank faces, almost looking like Slender Man. And
welcome, Liz.
Hey, Liz. We're just talking about the Twilight Zone getting its 5-issue miniseries. Each issue is going to be made by a different team. So each issue will be different stories like the show. And issue number 1, Blank, is set to come out September 24th. Yeah, so Dan, we've got a lot to chat about, especially DC. So many things being released.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another thing by DC. Another thing going on with DC is that Jason Todd, right now the Hush 2 storyline is going on, and Jason Todd is going to get his own series, Red Hood.
Yes, Richard is correct. Hit that like button.
Richard's right. You hit it. Don't hit it too hard or too long, because if you stay on it too long, it might make you subscribe and then unsubscribe. So just a good old hit.
Don't hit it and quit it. Hit it and enjoy.
Yes, enjoy it for the whole time. Yeah, Boo says Twilight Zone, nice. Yeah, so hopefully it should be good. Next, it's in black and white. It's a bit different. Hey, black and white. Twilight Zone fans are used to that. So
I
uh,
know Gary's excited for it.
he was the first one when you sent that. He was the first one I thought of. I'm like, oh, we know
Yeah.
he's gonna love that. Yeah,
As soon as I saw it, I was like, Gary's going to be happy about this. Yeah, it's cool that it's black and white. I'm glad that they're doing a different creative team in each issue.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder, they would have Rod Sterling like kind of introduce each episode. I wonder if they'll have that in the comic, if they'll have like, kind of like the Crypt Keeper and the Tales from the Crypt stuff, or like the Watcher in the What If books where he would be, if not the first page, like the first couple panels to introduce everything. I wonder if they'll do that in it too.
Yeah. And let's see. Richard says, yeah, the Red Hood project get made before the Batman 2.
Well, it is a comic that's being made. It's not a movie, so
Yeah.
there's at least that. I know Jamie was happy to see that. We know how much he likes the Red Hood.
Yeah. Yeah, one of his favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the Twilight Zone, a little story. When I was in 7th grade, one of my teachers, her name was Mrs. King. She was one of the best teachers I ever had. And what she would do, she would call students out. She was strict, but a nice, great teacher. And like I said, one of the best I ever had. And if you were not paying attention, she'd call you out. So every now and then, I got this very creative mind. So every now and then, my mind would drift off a little bit, and she'd jump in my way, and she'd say, "Do do 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 do, Mr. Kruger, you're going off into the Twilight Zone."
I had a
And my
teacher
mind was, yeah,
my junior year in high school. I had art first period, and showing up to art or showing up to any class first period early. Kids are still sleeping.
oh, yeah.
Occasionally, a kid would fall asleep in her class, and if they did, she would go up and paint their ear red.
That's good. Yeah, a kid. Well, nowadays a kid would get. Nowadays somebody would get sued for that.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
though it's a little pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are always looking to sue. But hey, but I do
Oh,
get.
yeah,
Let's see. Who
yeah,
says, yeah, Hood better be offing some fools. I would suspect he will.
Oh, they didn't say it was a Black Label book, but they did say that it was going to be like like a R-rated type of thing. That it was going to be a I don't know what they call it. I assume it sounded like the description like it was a Marvel Max type of deal. Like when they, had the Punisher and they could fully let him loose.
Oh yeah, also then definitely. I don't think he's gonna be using stun guns. I think I think we're gonna see some blood.
Yeah. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. Like you said, they changed the name of the Supergirl movie, which, I mean, not really a big deal. He did that with Superman, didn't he? Like, wasn't it going to be called Superman
Yeah,
Eyes or something like that?
Legacy was gonna be Superman Legacy.
Superman
And
Legacy,
Superman.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they, changed it to just Superman. Whatever. As long as Jason Momoa as Lobo is in it for a good portion of the movie, I'll go see it. It better not be some like 5-minute cameo or I'll be pissed.
He has one line. He just says bastard. Oh man, and then he gets off. Yeah. She just sees him riding by motorcycle through space.
Yeah. No, he better have a significant part of that movie.
Yeah, I hope so. And like I said, that's another one. It will still be a while, so I try not to get too excited about it, too hyped. And then Mr. Miracle getting a series, an animated series. I think that's pretty cool, and more like how Creature Commandos is, that it's going to be, animated, but it's more adult themed. So I think that's cool, Mr. Miracle. Hey, that Mr. Miracle Tom King series, get it. Richard says Lobo sucks. You know what? Because he did do a sucky thing. That was because he kicked the cat, right? He kicked Dexter. Okay, he does lose points. Richard, he does lose points for that one with me. You don't kick Dexter.
Now, if they're already announcing this Mr. Miracle thing, like he must be, like you said, he's not doing anything until he has a script that he's happy with, and it's not Gunn writing everything, but until he said until there's a script he's happy with, they're not moving forward with it, which I think is good because he just pointed out something too where he said the problem with Marvel now, where everyone's getting Marvel fatigue, is because the quality hasn't been there consistently since Endgame, but he said it's Disney's fault because they've pushed for Marvel to make so much content because they have Disney Plus, and like we got to have stuff to put on here. So they're just pushing to have all this content to put on there. Plus, what is it, like 2-3 movies a year that
and shows, and it's just
and the
quantity
shows
over
and stuff.
quality, I'd say.
Yeah, they're just it's too much. Like he said, there's at least right now. He said there's no mandate for him that they have to produce a certain amount of shows or a certain amount of movies a year. They should get shanked by Streaky
Yeah, that's good, Richard. Yeah, Lobo should get shanked by Streaky in the movie.
But that's good.
Justice for Dexter.
Yeah, that's good that there's no mandate for, because I think that has hurt the MCU, and there's certainly been good stuff, but there's been a lot of just bad stuff too.
Almost like what Disney's doing with Star Wars too. It's so much constantly, and
Yeah,
now it seems that I hear more complaints than people saying, "Oh, I like this, I like that." Just like, "Oh, this wasn't good. I didn't like that."
and there is good, and they have done a lot of good Star Wars content since Disney took over, but they have done some crap, a lot of crap too. And it's one of those, it's like I said, it's Disney Plus, where it's like, we got to have content to put on here, and it's got to be new content. It can't just be, oh, here's the back catalog of stuff. Like, that's good at first, but after a while, people will be like, all right, if you're not giving me anything new, then what else is there? So there's got to have new Marvel shows. And you notice, like, every time one show ends, there's something else starting. So, like, one Star Wars show will end, and then a Marvel one will start, and then that'll end, and it'll be, something else. They're always cranking out something where when one thing ends within another week or two, the next one is starting.
Yeah. So but so like I said, I would rather have them like say like DC, or how James Gunn is saying that he'd rather take the time, let time go by, just to make sure that the work is that much better, as opposed to just releasing more and more. I'd rather have less and have it be better than more and have the quality be less.
Agreed.
Yes, there's that, and then Tom Harris is Clayface. I haven't seen him in too much. I know he was in the movie The Gentleman. He was in a 2016 remake of Crow, The Crow, but it was called like Crow, but I didn't see it. So I saw The Gentleman, but I didn't see much of his other works. He was in a movie called like Dragonheart, something called Suspicion. So a lot of things that I haven't seen.
But I recognized him. I can't say that if I really know him for anything. But whatever. We'll see. We'll see if he's good or not. I still think it's weird that they're doing a Clayface movie before a Batman movie. That seems like a really odd choice to me. But I'm not the one running an entire studio.
Yeah, and maybe looking at the success of the Penguin, of how popular and how good that show was, they're thinking, oh, maybe this will get it too. But sometimes just focus on making a great show. But the difference is Penguin is a lot more known than Clayface. People know the Penguin, and Penguin wasn't the Batman movie.
Yeah, well, Penguin is, he's, he was on, he was in the second Michael Keaton Batman movie. He was in the Gotham show. They were both on Batman the Animated Series, but Penguin was on, would like fight him on Super Friends. There was the Penguin action figure. There wasn't the, back in the day when they did the superpowers line. Like, Penguin is just a more known character, and it's because you got to be really special effects heavy to do Clayface in live action.
Yeah,
Penguin, Penguin, Burgess Meredith was Penguin in the Adam West TV show. You just gotta put a guy in a suit and give him a long pointy nose and a umbrella and a top hat. And
but I will say the makeup on Colin Farrell was great. Yeah, see, Bruce says Clayface before Batman 2 is pretty odd way to go, and I completely agree.
Especially because at one point they were saying that Clayface was going to be, the rumor was that Clayface would be the villain for Pattinson's Batman 2.
Yeah, unless they make the show lead to Batman 2, like at the end.
Well, no, Clayface is going to be a movie.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
I think it's going to be a movie.
I thought it was saying, and then now they keep changing because it's still so far away. Like, it's not gonna, Clayface isn't gonna be out. I'd be surprised if it came out before the year ends. Sometimes when they're deciding, is it gonna be a movie, it's gonna be a show. Like, Iron Man, remember Armor Wars? How long have we
Yeah,
been hearing about that? And it's going to be a show. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be a miniseries. It's going to be a movie again.
yeah,
And still, they just released Ironheart is about to come out. It's not even out yet. Before we
yeah.
get to Armor Wars.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think it's an odd choice that they do Clayface before they do Batman, but we'll see. James Gunn was talking about how hard, James Gunn was just talking about. I read an article where he said he was focusing on Batman now. He said he's not writing the script, but he's focusing that on, on being like the next project that that he gets going. So we'll see. He was talking about how hard it is to do a Batman one, and I mean, I guess maybe there's been so many different Batman movies made over the years.
Yeah, and so many great ones too. Like the
Yeah,
competition is tough. Where Fantastic Four is another story, but where
yeah,
Batman, people are usually expecting it to be good, whereas Fantastic Four, a lot of people, I feel like they're almost going to pick every little thing. Oh, yep, see, it's bad. Oh, yep, every Fantastic Four movie is bad. Whereas Batman, you're in good company in Batman.
I just got the Fantastic Four pizza from Little Caesars last night for dinner.
How was it?
Hey, I like Little Caesars, so it's a pizza, and for 8 slices, and you get two of each slice. It's 4 different toppings, two on each one. So one is pepperoni, one is two of them are pepperoni, two of them are cheese, two of them are sausage, and two of them are pepperoni jalapeno. I got it without the jalapenos on there because my 7-year-old I knew would probably not like those. It should be a dark brown plate. That's fun.
Who knows? Maybe there's a fan film out there and somebody has done that.
But
But
and then it comes and then it comes in the box. The box I got had the thing on it, and then in the top right facing corner, there's part of the Fantastic Four logo. So there's 4 boxes, one for each character, and if you get them all and put them together, it makes the logo in the middle.
so it's like almost like when they were doing the Coca-Cola thing, and you have to get all this stuff and spend all this money to try to get it all together. But damn, one thing, let's see, Bruce says, yeah, I'm worried people won't give Fantastic Four a fair chance. I agree. I feel like every little mistake, they're going to say, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. But Dan,
I think
you
they're
didn't
probably
say,
also making a mistake having it open 2 weeks after Superman.
I completely agree. Yeah, not wise to go up against Superman. Um, but you didn't say that pizza was fantastic. That was the word I was looking for. So I don't know. And actually, I'm fine with Little Caesars too. I'm someone I like most kinds of pizzas. Yeah. So
Pizza.
yeah, I think of that too. Yeah, the little guy. Yeah. Oh. But all right, Dan. Yeah. So that pretty much takes care of our comic book news for the week. But before you had that Mr. Miracle, by the Tom King, Tom King made the series, the 12-issue series. A little recommendation. I think if we find any of those comics at the shop, especially issue number 1, I suggest picking it up because its value is going to go up in time.
Oh, and don't forget, there's also the Snyder bots are at it again.
Yeah, and even James Gunn, what did he say? Like all 8 of them or something like that. They just don't want
Oh
to let it
yeah,
go.
they said he said because the guy that posted had like 8 followers, and then they took it down to the moderators took it down, and and whatever the explanation they said is like just he had nothing to do. They keep blaming him for James Gunn being gone. Like he's had nothing to do with that. They'd already gotten rid of Gunn way before, or gotten rid of Snyder way before they brought Gunn in. I haven't seen the commercial. I've seen the stills for it.
I've seen the stills, yeah. Giganto and Fantastic Four. I think that's cool.
So these Snyder fans are just the worst.
Yeah. So CBS Bruce talking about that I believe it's Giganto that
Yeah.
is going to be in the Fantastic Four movie. I think it's going to be a quick. It may not even be a minute, or maybe a minute. Maybe that'll be the opening. I think it'd be a cool opening to have Giganto in there, but we will see.
No, do not restore the
We
Snyderverse.
should just restore the Snyderverse.
The drab, joyless movies. And look, I like some of them, but Justice League was just absolute dreck.
And you
And
telling me you don't want Aquaman 4-hour movie?
I like the first Aquaman movie. I haven't seen the second one yet. I just haven't gotten around to it. But
I'm just waiting for the Snyderverse version of the second one. Then I might watch it.
but
4 hours, and then I might watch it.
and then you remember too? They said I guess everybody was assuming it was the Justice League in the Superman movie, but Snyder came out and said there is no Justice League in the DCU yet. So it's and then like everyone assumed Metamorpho was with him, but he said it's just Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific that like have this little thing where they work for Max Lord, but there's no actual Justice League yet, which also to me raises a question: well, how does how does how does Metamorpho like fit into all this? Could he be the one that's in that black costume with the full face mask? Could he be the one that is fighting Superman and then he breaks free from their control at the end?
And, let's see, I see you putting up a comment. Yeah, I like that Mr. Keith says, yeah, to be fair, Batman is famous for never using guns. I like it.
Yeah. And it's not really comic related, but it's exciting. They're making Spaceballs too.
There you go. Still, we can still mention. We talk about all kinds of things here, but yeah. So there you go. How long has it been? 40 years since the original? Somewhere around.
Yeah, they got it was the 80s.
Yeah. So
mid to late 80s. I forget what year.
Yeah, but like Richard said, I think most that posts are just trolling now. Yeah, I think a lot of it's kind of trolling. I think many know. Maybe there's a few who still believe in the Snyderverse.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, yeah, I just read something like, oh, Sacha Baron Cohen's going to be Mephisto and Ironheart. I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. But yeah, there's still Snyder people that I think like really believe that it could happen. I'm like, no, you'd have to get all of the, it's not just him saying, it's not just the studio saying, all right, you can make, one more movie to tie it all up and him going, cool, I'll write and direct it. You have to have like all these actors that have moved on to other stuff agree to come back and want to do it. The problem is Ezra Miller, Ben Affleck, who, had all of his problems, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's all insane. Or some would say it's insane. So that will bring us to
release Green Lantern 2. I keep seeing all these things that are like, oh, Green Lantern. And then it's like all this stuff about bringing Ryan Reynolds back to do the role in something. I'm like, no, the movie was like, do you all forget how terrible that movie was?
I know one person who loved it. Richard, I'll play Batman in there. Restore the Snyderverse. Richard, you get that going. I'll play one of the other characters as well. I'm just looking for reasons to play superheroes or supervillains.
Sonny will play Robin.
Hey, if that's the role, I'll take it.
Really? Okay, Sonny will play Catwoman.
I'd take it, and I'd nail that role. He'd be like, "Dang, she's hot." Oh wait, that's Sonny. I can't say that.
But all right, show up on camera. Meow. Cut. All right, shut the production down.
What was it?
We made a mistake. We made a mistake.
Is there a problem with being too sexy?
I thought this would be funny, but yeah, it's just kind of creepy.
Yeah, pretty much. There's been way prettier Catwomans than I would be. But all right, we're on to variant insanity. You know how it goes. Take a guess as to which comic book had the most variants this week. And Bruce said he wishes he could forget how bad the GL movie was. But all right, guys. Dan, any guesses?
I'm going to guess Vampirilla.
Dan's going Vampirella. How about anybody in the chat?
Because you know it's going to be a Dynamite book. It's almost always, isn't it? Isn't a Dynamite book like 85% of the time or something?
Yeah, Sale is working on. He has the He's working on a PowerPoint. Yeah. So Richard says TMNT.
With
I
30.
see. And he said, but there are two. Boosh says Thundercats. Mr. Keith also says TMNT. All right.
Yeah, TMNT with, oh, he also says 32 variants. Are you guys peeking? Was there a Ninja Turtles book this week?
Well, Mr. Keith says he's copying Richard's guess. Well, hey, at least you're honest, right?
All right. You want to let us know what it is?
That's right. And then 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If anybody was cheating this week, it'd be Dan Kelly because it is Vampirella. Vampirella had the most variants this week.
No, here's what I do because I didn't go to the shop yet. I type in new comics that came out this week, and then it'll just tell you what the books are, and I just scan through it, and basically I'm like, all right, I'm looking for, essentially it's looking for Dynamite each week, so it could be Vampirella, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Silverhawks. I was tempted, to pick Flash Gordon, but then I was like, well, I never really see a lot of Flash Gordon variants. And well, that's Mad Cave too. So, but yeah, I was going through and I was like, all right, I don't see Ninja Turtles, I don't see Thundercats, I see Vampirella, and I know that's Dynamite, and I know they like to make a bunch of them. So,
and so this is Vampirella number 3, and this is each time Vampirella has an issue with this series, it has been the variant of the week. It is one. So it's 3 for 3. But would you like to take a guess as to how many variants Vampirella number 3 has or had this week?
Vampirella 3 Legacy 678.
Wow. Always a special number, 678. You got to have many variants for it.
You know what? I'm gonna steal Richard's number and say 32.
All right, so we've got some 32s. See, is there anybody else going with it?
I know. I kind of forget that it's Dynamite too. I keep wanting to think of it as Harris Comics, but Harris Comics has long been gone. All right, Boosh says 24. We're running out of time.
Yeah. Boop, 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 and then it ends. Last time Vampirella had 23, but this week Vampirella issue number 3 has a total of 30.
Whoa.
So 30 covers for Vampirella number 3. The first time was like 40 or 40 something. Then it was 23, and now it's jumping back up. It's issue number 3, so you got to times that by 10. According to Dynamite rules.
I mean, I'm still surprised that Dynamite's cranking out that many alternate covers since they're having problems finding distribution.
However, when you look at that cover, people are going to be selling those for a lot of money. Always those sexy covers with the ladies like that. They're not wearing much. They're showing a lot of skin. Look on eBay, they're sold for a lot.
I mean, the cover's all right on this. Her face doesn't really look that great, though.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but yeah, the face doesn't. The face kind of looks mannish.
We know how people on there. We know any cover that has women dressed like this. These people are going to be selling them for a lot of money. Well, maybe that's what Dynamite does. They sell them, and then they buy them for like $5 or $6, and then they go on eBay and then they sell it for like 30, and then
well, money. Beauty is only a light switch away.
That is right. But yeah, so
on a t-shirt, wear it to the grocery store. I'm sure I wouldn't get slapped at all.
Get him out of here. He's a chauvinist pig. Imps Kid says, who's that purple guy behind there?
That's the one-eyed, one-horned giant purple people eater. Flying purple people eater. Nothing a peg couldn't fix.
Yeah, I don't know who. Yeah, not too familiar with too many of the Vampirella characters, so.
Me neither. I have no idea who it is.
But yeah, but Vampirella, issue number 3, with 30 variants, was the variant that had the most this week. And now it's time for some statements, some right or wrong, And Dan is the man with the 5 statements.
All right, let me pull them. Let me set them right here. All right. Number 1. Marvel and DC need to stop using the same names over and over again that have nothing to do with the original concept or characters, like Thunderbolts, Runaways, stuff like that. It's like, oh, here's the new Thunderbolts. None of the original characters from the first Thunderbolts are in here. The concept of the original Thunderbolts is nothing like this. Like they just need to stop recycling names.
I say right. I completely agree.
All right. This one is would have been more appropriate probably 2 weeks ago, but I'm still going to use it anyways. Yes, it is 100% right, Richard.
Yes, yeah. True Codex is the best station on YouTube. Agreed.
Number 2, the Battle Beast blind bag is the definition of FOMO.
I'll say right.
All right. Number 3, comic book based movies should get more respect from the Oscars and other award shows.
Right. I've said for a long time.
All right. Number 4, comics need to be sold in gas stations and grocery stores again.
Right. Many of your ones I'm going with like all capitals. RIGE. RIGHT.
All right. And the last one I'll say. Oh, looks like we're getting some dissent here. All right. Get some good discussion there. Well, everyone seems to be right on 4. And number 5, the backup stories in Batman and Deadpool will be better than the main story.
I say right.
All right.
All right, so let's go over and discuss.
All right, so the first one, Marvel and DC need to stop using the same name, recycling the same names over and over again that have nothing to do with the original concepts. I'll say right because, for something like the Thunderbolts with what it was, just, I get it. You've already got we got dissent on got some spicy questions this time around. Got a lot of dissent.
Yeah.
So I'll say they need to stop doing it. Like, I know it's hard to come up with a good team name, but just, come up with something else. I get that you've got the IP and, you want to keep using it, but, when it's when it's something that's just so far removed from the original concept, like if you're making a new Defenders team, all right, whatever. Defenders was just a group of characters, Champions, same thing. But when it's something specific like the Thunder, the concept like the Thunderbolts, I think it should have something to tie it into the original concept.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, what's the point, If the concept, Bruce said, if the concept is different, go ahead and use a new name. Yeah, like I said, I understand sometimes teams change a bit, but like I said, if you're changing the whole concept, it's nothing like the original, then why? Well, you just then it's literally just the name, just to get more. It seems like it's just to get more buyers. Change the name up, have a new team.
It would be like
it basically is a new comic, a new team.
Yeah, it would be like using the X-Men name and then having the team be No Mutants.
Yeah, but that's not the X-Men.
All right, so number 2, Battle Beast blind bag is the definition of FOMO. Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know, too, FOMO is fear of missing out. I think the Battle Beast blind bag, I read that it had like 400,000 that sold, and I think that's exactly what it is. That it's, I kept seeing so many people posting that they bought 20 of them, 100 of them, buying them at like 200 of them because it's, because you don't know what you're getting. Like you could be getting cover A or B or C, however many they made, or it could be, the 1 in 50, the 1 in 100, the 1 in 1,000. It could be Battle Beast issue 2, which I guess is only different from the one coming out this week by a little stamp on it that says it was, the preview thing. They had the reprint of the Marvel team up with Spider-Man and Invincible, as like a foil. They had a reprint of the foil from when Battle Beast first appeared in Invincible, and so to me, it's the definition of FOMO because it's they're afraid that they're gonna if they don't buy it that they're gonna miss out on potentially getting this one, I could get this 1 in 1,000 cover that I can then go and flip.
Yeah, and it's kind of a smart move on their point. I say, like you said, it is selling, so yeah, just fear missing out, and I want that cover. What if this is the one that has that super rare cover, and kind of everybody's doing it? Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna
people
lie.
love to gamble blindly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is very similar to right. It is very
And
similar to trading cards.
yes, that's what I thought of. As soon as I was thinking that, I thought of the fun of cards.
I mean, look, I've read a little bit of Invincible. I haven't read a lot. I hear Battle Beast and I think of the little toy, the little figures from the 80s, that I collected as a kid. But if I would have gone into the shop and they would have had some sitting there, I might have bought one, depending on how heavy my pull list was that week. I might have been like, yeah, whatever, I'll pick it up and I'll, it's still at the end of the day, it's still Kurtman and it's still Otley, and like Kurtman's writing, I like Otley's art, so I might have, but I wasn't ordering 5 packs or 10 packs or 100 of them or something online.
I should get one. I should get one just to see, but well, like I said, because I don't have the issue, so
Yeah.
it'd be new. But yeah, I do not plan to get 100 or 200 or anything like that.
All right, number 3, comic movies should get more respect from the Oscars and these other, other award shows.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, like for me, first off,
we seem to be in agreement on that one.
yeah, a lot of people, let's say for instance, makeup. Like, how come a movie that other has battles and this and that, they'll get all this credits and credentials, and then comes to superhero movies, it gets ignored, and you're like, okay, wait, look how different they made this character look and that character, and then it seems like only, I mean, I'm glad some get awards, but it seems like only Batman, only people who play the Joker tend to be up for awards, and other than the Joker, nobody else is getting out there for acting. There has been some great acting in many of these superhero movies, and then next to the special effects, come on, like how you're not going to give it to them? And Black Panther was up for Best Picture, and which I like. Black Panther, that was a very good movie, but I almost felt that they gave it to it just because of like more like to look good, like on the awards part. I don't think they were truly giving it respect because they just thought, okay, this movie deserves it. Because look at all the other great superhero movies, and they haven't been up for awards.
Yeah, I mean, you always see it get nominated for the same stuff. Like, you'll see it get nominated. Some of these movies get nominated like for costumes or for special effects, but rarely do you see an actor get nominated. Rarely do you see a script get nominated or a Best Picture nomination. Which, okay, yeah, Black Panther, like it was a good movie, but it's not even the best of the MCU movies. It wasn't even the best of the MCU movies in that phase. Like, how do you have, I mean, Captain America Winter Soldier was, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Endgame, became like the highest grossing movie of all time, and there's nothing for that. What is this? Battle Bree's pretty cool character actually going around the galaxy for somebody. Yeah, but didn't he get killed too? I haven't read it. I just seem to remember an issue where Omni-Man's sitting there like wearing Battle Beast as like a sash. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really one for award shows like let's judge art, like that. But still, if they're gonna do it, it seems like how does something like Logan not get a Best Picture nomination?
Yeah, and then if people say like, oh, because there's so much action, well, that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, had a lot of action and sci-fi and wasn't realistic. So how could superhero movies say, oh, they're not realistic? You know,
Yeah, and I mean, you want to talk about best acting? Like, look at Hugh. Like, you look at how Hugh Jackman becomes Wolverine, and you look at him in real life. Like, I mean, the
yeah.
dude transforms himself. It's. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he should have got nominated for like Deadpool and Wolverine, but there's a reason that people go see all these movies. They got the stuntman thing that they're putting in the actor in now. So I think that's probably their way of, like trying to appease, people that are fans of action movies.
Well, that's good stunt. People should get some, and editors definitely deserve a lot more credit than they get. But all right, Dan. The next question, your next
Right.
statement was
Number 4, comics need to be sold in gas stations and grocery stores again.
this one. I think was the one that had some people mixed.
Booge and Mr. Keith said right. Richard said wrong. Support your LCS. Now, Richard, I'm all for supporting your LCS. I say they need to get sold in gas stations and grocery stores again, because how many of us? Yeah, Logan should have. Logan was an absolute masterpiece. The story, the acting, the action, like the action. Of course, it had that, but the story and the acting from Hugh Jackman and from Patrick Stewart was just amazing.
Yeah,
But
I went with right for your fourth statement about comic books being sold at gas stations again. That would be great.
like, how many of us as kids? Most people don't get their first exposure to comics going to a comic shop. How many of us as kids, like, how did we all get exposed to it? Most of us were, they had the spinner rack at the grocery store. You're there grocery shopping with your mom and your dad or whoever, and it's like, hey, and sometimes it's be like, get you out of here. Go look at that while I'm doing this,
Yeah.
and they'll get your parents to buy you a comic. No, I get that, and I totally say support your comic shops. I'm just saying that they need to sell them at gas stations, grocery stores, bookstores, stuff like that. That's how they need to get new fans in, because all of us, I think, got it. Grab comic at the 7-Eleven, at the gas station, the grocery store, these places that you're already going to be having to go to with your parents or with they're not going to carry all that stuff, but I think they need to be selling them at these places so that they can get new fans in. Someone I saw online made a great point the other day. They said, you go to a card show and card convention, and you see all these people around, and it's a bunch of kids. You go to a comic convention, and it's a bunch of guys in their 30s, 40s, and older. That's the problem. Is there's not enough. Excuse me. There's not enough kids that are starting to read comics. Yeah, they watch the shows, they watch the movies, but there's not enough of them that are coming in and continuing to read the comics. And I think the reason is because it's availability. Not everyone is going to go out of their way to go to a comic shop. But if you could pick them up where you're already at, like I said, places you got to go, the gas station, the grocery store, the 7-Eleven, the Walmart, where you're already going to be with your parents, and you can get your parents to, buy you that issue of Superman or Spider-Man. Or maybe you're not even with them. Maybe they just happen to see it and impulse buy it, be like, hey, that looks cool. Someone Junior's going to like this. That's a way to get new fans in. And then as they get hooked in, then they can move on to go to the local comic shops. Because that's how it was for me as a kid. Yeah, I'd pick them up at the grocery store and stuff. And then I learned, oh, there's a place in my in my town that only sells comics. And that's how I got into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's, you got to hook them. I mean, but that's a great thing with comics. You don't have to read. You look at the pretty pictures.
Yeah, that's how when I first got into comics, it was before I was able to read. So like the pictures.
Yeah, like I say, they're not going to sell everything, but Marvel and DC definitely have the infrastructure where they could get stuff, and we've seen it with them trying to do stuff in Walmart with like those thick DC books, and with like the multi-packs and stuff. I'm saying they need to get some single issues in there, preferably cheap stuff, even if they're just going to be doing reprints, you know, kids aren't going to know the difference. They're going to be excited to get something, and then as they start getting into it, then it can, it can pull them in. But I don't know many parents that are just going to, out of the blue, venture to a separate place, the local comic shop.
Yes, that's more just like if you are a comic book fan. Like I said, us, we'll go there, but
Yeah, like they're
just
not
have
going
it
to go there to get them something if they're not sure if they're going to be into it, as opposed to if they're already regularly picking them up and then they're like, "Oh, hey, let's go to this place." Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was growing up, it was cards and comics. I don't know why it still can't be like that.
Yeah, maybe one day again it could be cards and comics. Everybody enjoy them. And then your number 5.
Number 5 was the backup stories in the Batman Deadpool crossovers will be better than the main story. Richard says correct. Booze says wrong, but I know that's because Booze is a Deadpool fan. Mr. Keith says right. I know this is kind of shitty. It's kind of like how the Snyder Bros are like, let's tank this movie before it even comes out. Look, I'm gonna buy both of the Batman Deadpool books. It's a given. They could both be by a writer I hate and an artist I hate. I'm going to buy them because I want Marvel and DC to learn to play nice. I want them to make so much money off of this that it's unfathomable that they were like, we have to do this again. Do I think Batman and Deadpool is the best crossover they could pick? Absolutely not. Could it be good? Yeah, it could be fantastic. They're two very different personalities. But, and without even knowing what the backup stories are going to be, I'm having a feeling that there's going to be at least one backup story that's a pairing that's going to be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I can't wait to read more of that. Yeah, that's a good point, Mr. Keith. They should sell them outside of movies.
Yeah. For that one, for your number 5, I had also went with right as well. Let's see.
If the comic shops were smart, what they would do is they would be going to, and I've seen them do it, some of them do it before, do some kind of deal with the movie theater where they could like set up a table there with something, even if it's giving out like free comic book day books or stickers or something with it, and they could say like, hey, here's this and here's our card.
Yeah, and Richard, yeah, I'd say I do think the Red Hood and Deadpool would be good. Yeah, but I agree with you. I say right. Never Red Hood and Punisher. I say right. That I think it could be good. We never know, but I could see the quick stories in the back being a bit better. Just an opinion. Who knows if I will be right or wrong, but we'll see. Yeah.
I did that at Dominant when I used to manage Domino's, and they had the Dark Knight came out, and they did the deal with Domino's where it had the black Batman box and all that, and I did that. I went to the midnight premiere and like asked trivia questions of people in the theater and like passed out coupons and got one of my drivers to put a Batman suit on and harass people going into the theater and passing out stuff.
Which is they start Red Hood and Daredevil.
Yeah, that could be good.
A lot of red in there, but yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, there's so many great crossovers that could happen. And yeah, so Deadpool and Batman, I think it could be cool. I think it's just gonna be more of a fun story, and then cool action. Oh wow, good Deadpool and Batman together, and then like you said, if there's little stories at the end, I think that'd be cool.
I mean, you even look at the past ones we've had, like we look at the past through rose-colored glasses, but Superman and Spider-Man, is that really an evenly matched team up, or was it just that Marvel picked their biggest character and DC picked theirs, or the Batman Incredible Hulk? Like, that's a ridiculous pairing, but it's two of their most popular characters, so that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, so we will see. And like I said, I hope it is popular, like you said, Dan, because it'd be nice for them to say, okay, we should get along, we should do more crossovers. Because if it tanks, then they're gonna say, what's the point of doing it again?
And I have a feeling that they will. I'm just guessing that the backup stories are going to lead into something else.
Bruce said Batman and Daredevil or Moon Knight or Punisher would be better. I know
Well, they
Batman
have done a
Punisher,
couple Batman. They've done what, 2 Batman
Punisher ones.
Punisher ones, and they did Batman Daredevil too.
Bruce said Etrigan and Ghost Rider.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not
Doesn't
going
see
to be
chemistry, even
chemistry.
though he sees it being a good story. Doesn't see chemistry between the two.
I'm sure that's what it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be them having to team up for some reason, but Deadpool going to be annoying the shit out of Batman the whole time.
Yeah. Actually, a predictable story, but could be fun.
I mean, I've made it well known over the years, to the point where I think everybody knows which crossover I want to see, and it's one that probably will never happen, which is Invaders in Justice Society.
That would be. But you might see Howard the Duck get a Green Lantern ring before we see that.
Oh, Sal would hate that.
That would be kind of funny though, just to see him.
Great.
Happy birthday! We all give him slab. Howard the Duck is Green Lantern.
Yes.
Yeah. But all right, Dan, that takes care of our 5 statements for right or wrong. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved in the conversation. And now it is time for a random panel of the week. Before we get there, yeah. Mr. Kissy, Wonder Woman and She-Hulk.
She-Hulk and Power Girl.
And 2 big, strong ladies.
Oh, yeah.
So, random panel of the week. These are this strong lady. It is Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. And she says, she's holding a copy of The Room with Tommy Wiseau. And she says, no, I wanted Room with Brie Larson, not The Room. Side note, you know this guy is an alien, right? He's a wanted criminal. The Guardians have been looking for him for years.
Real quick, yeah, Booze, Doom Patrol and Deadpool would be a pretty crazy.
I think a better crossover. Yeah, it's an interesting statement by Deadpool and Doom Patrol. They'd be good.
It's a little meta with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel there.
Yeah, it's like that. Pretty funny. Captain Marvel wanting to watch the Brie Larson one, and yeah. Also, in the Series Watch series, there's a part where it's talking about The Room and one of the characters, Ralph's, and not the one with Brie Larson, the Tommy Wiseau one. And then I saw this comic panel not too long ago, and I'm like, I think it's perfect to put on the show. But yeah,
I did not hit her. I did it. I didn't do it. Oh, hi, Mark.
So many funny quotes, so bad things in there, and I did love the movie The Disaster Artist about it.
Yeah, which is good too. The movie, it's a masterpiece of absurdity. And it's the fact that he made it and he wanted from what I read, Tommy Wiseau wanted it to he made it thinking like it was a serious drama.
Yeah.
And then when people treat it like a comedy, he just started saying, oh yeah, it's a comedy. Like, no, dude, you made it to be a serious movie. It's just so weird that you kind of pivot now. But I mean, you think about it, this is one of the worst movies ever made, and it's a huge cult movie. And
it made $6 million, he spent $6 million to make it, but now I think it's actually made a profit.
Yeah, and there's something
I've seen it played at theaters just for people to laugh and have a wild time watching it too.
Yeah, and throw spoons. Because he went and apparently they thought when they were making it they needed set dressing. They needed frames and stuff, so they just went to the store, the local whatever store to buy picture frames, and where they have the whatever weird pictures in them, and they just had pictures of spoons, and he was like, whatever, leave it in, I don't care. And it's like, okay, the offhand dialogue where the mom's like, yep, it's true, the doctor just told me I have cancer.
You just move on, never bring it up again.
And it's so matter of fact, and then it's just never mentioned again. The fact that the first half of the movie there's this one character, and then the actor that played him had to leave for whatever reason. So they just halfway through had a second character that took his place and was essentially the same guy, but a different actor with a different name. The stuff that just is brought up and then never mentioned again. Them wearing tuxedos and throwing a football around.
They're always throwing the football around. Yeah,
it's so bizarre.
Yes, it's one of those so bad it's good. Like you gotta see it.
And if you read it, like there's some whacked out stuff that he was gonna put in it that he didn't, where there was gonna be like a flying car and it was gonna turn out that he was a vampire.
Oh yeah, it was there was the vampire stuff. Yeah, he was gonna have him be a vampire. And then the part, yeah, like the guy's talking about like a woman getting hit, and then he like laughs and he's like, "Crazy story, Mark." Like nothing funny about that
It's,
story.
it's yeah, it's 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 just like bizarre doesn't even the movie doesn't even do the word bizarre justice. Just it's so weird. It's so out there. Like there's just nothing to compare it to. Even Ed Wood movies like had a plot. They weren't good movies, but at least it had some semblance of structure. And this movie doesn't have that have anything like that.
Yeah, so if you can accept like okay, this is gonna be bad, then you can have a good time watching it, but don't expect it to be serious.
Do you remember a couple years ago when Tommy Wiseau made that video where he was auditioning for the Joker?
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was legit. He was trying. He gave it a shot. I'll give him that, but he did not get the role.
In fact, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna put the link in the comments if anyone hasn't seen it. It is absolutely worth watching to
It
see
is.
Tommy Wiseau try to be the Riddler.
And he's
And
joking. He's dressed as Joker too. Yeah, like he's in full costume.
yes, it's so everybody you can go. The room shows us the power. I can put one up.
Let's see. Mishki, yeah, says the room shows us the power of buying a billboard on a highway in LA and just keeping it going for years.
Yeah, because that's right. He had that billboard that he paid money out of his own pocket to have up like just for years and years. Like, but yeah, click that YouTube link after we're done. Not while we're on because it's us.
Yeah,
But
later you can
then
go watch.
go watch the Tommy Wiseau Joker audition, and the one guy that plays Mark in it like shows up in a Batman costume. He probably would have been good as Joker because that dude is wackadoo.
Yeah, they would just let me just say whatever you want to say. He wouldn't even have to follow the script. And
Well, dude, like he's so weird in real life. Like nobody knows if that's Tommy Wiseau. Nobody knows if that's his real name. They don't know. Nobody knows where he comes from, where he's gotten all this money. Like it just nobody knows anything about him.
he is a mystery. So yeah, there was our random panel of the week. So Captain Marvel wants to watch The Room with Brie Larson.
That got us going off on mostly me going off on this tangent.
But Dan, you're the perfect guy I picked that one for because I do love talking about that movie, and there's so much we could talk about. The soundtrack, the everything,
That movie, it's like it was made for midnight movie showings.
Yes. He didn't know. He didn't realize, like I said, he thought it was gonna be a serious movie, but well, hey.
Yeah.
When women named Lisa are tearing you apart, right?
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
I was hoping you'd do that.
Oh my god.
Many I will give it there was many very quotable lines from the movie.
And anybody that's named Mark, how many times do you think they've heard that in their life? Oh, hi, Mark. Or they're probably like, oh yeah, I get it. Or you're tearing me apart, Lisa. How many times have they heard that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Boosh, you got to check it out.
You will enjoy it.
You gotta watch it. It's just like I said, I can't think of any other movie that's like it. I can't think of anything really to compare it to. You got to watch that, and then you got to watch The Disaster Artist after it.
Yeah, The Disaster Artist is legitimately good. I really enjoy that one. But all right, Dan, we've been talking about a movie that would be on the F list. It's time we go to the F list. Last week, Sarah forgot to send it in, but he did send it in Last week the walrus joined, so here's this little.
Yeah,
Last week,
I laughed when I found that character. It's so lame.
yeah, walrus. Thank you for saying that in. Well, let's see. Bruce, yeah, I dig midnight movies, so I'm gonna check it out. Enjoy the
Just
room.
prepare yourself. That's all I can say. Leave reason, leave reason at the door when you watch this.
Yeah, truly, you'll have a better time. Dan, you and I, we are men with beards. So I picked out this character named Beard Hunter. He is the Beard Hunter, and even says, I hunt beards. As you see, there's what appears to be a dead man who's been shaven.
Oh, so he's not like hunting women that date gay guys to keep
Nope.
them
Look,
secret.
there he's running. I move faster. He's a white man with some blonde hair. He's clean shaven, and as you can see, he has beards all around his belt. Right there, he says, "Now it's colder. I've come for your beard."
Yeah, bring some spoons. Your Mr. Keith's right about that.
Yes, there was. Yeah, I've come for your beard. And then this one, not so clever now, are you, punk? He thinks he's Clint Eastwood there. And here he is. He's tripping over all these cans, and he says, "Oh, I got to make it look like I meant to do it." And then at the bottom, as he's getting up, he even says, can't let him see me crying." So he cries.
Look how much those cans like look at his suit in the first panel and then in the bottom left one and the bottom right one where it's all tore up. Like what are these soda cans? What are these
Yeah, they
cans?
really tore us out for the
What are these
part.
made out of? It says Heinz 57 too.
Yeah,
Heinz
well,
57
they
doesn't.
were enough to make him cry. They ripped his outfit. They made him cry. And then here's just another picture of him right there. As he thinks he's cool. He's going. Look at that. He even has a little goatee there
I
in
was
that
gonna
picture.
say he's got you know
Yeah, the man who hates beards has partially grown one out there. But okay, Dan, would you like to take a guess as to the history of Beard Hunter?
it's a secret ID Nixon cuts.
Maybe it's a secret identity, Nixon cuts. All right, Dan. What do you think about the Beard Hunter?
Well, his real name is Scott Plemberschmidt. And the reason he hates beards is because as a small child, he went to visit Santa Claus in the mall and he waited in line and he waited in line and he waited in line all day. And right when he was getting up to the front, they closed the Santa for the day.
Womp womp womp.
He was crestfallen. He was heartbroken. He was a small child. He just wanted to sit on Santa's lap for 30 seconds and tell him about the brand new My Little Pony that he wanted for Christmas. So as they're leaving, dejected, as they're leaving the mall, they see the mall Santa outside getting ready to get into his car. And he gets so excited and he runs up to him. He says, Santa, Santa, I love you. Oh, he has 5 blades with him, but
Yeah, Miss Kid said, yeah, he has 5 blades with him. But what was it for?
4 lift the hair while only 1 cuts. He ran to us like, Santa, I got to see you. I just want to tell you what I want for Christmas. And he reached up and Santa turned around and looked at him and said, get out of here. I'm off the clock. And he's like, and he started, his eyes got big and watery. He started tearing up. He said, but I just want to tell you what I want for Christmas. He goes, I don't give a shit what you want for Christmas, you little punk. Get out of here.
Goose a
Go.
bad Santa there.
And then he reached up. He's like, but Santa, why? And he touched his and he reached out and he touched his beard. And the mall Santa slapped his hand away and said, don't touch my beard. Don't you fucking touch my beard, you little shit. And pushed him down. He got in his car and drove away so fast that the hubcap went flying off. And that small child sat there in the parking lot. He wiped the tears away from his face, from his round, plump little cheeks. And he said, "All right, fat man. All right, I see." Then he dedicated himself, trained the rest of his life. He had in peak physical condition. He learned how to use guns and fighting techniques and all kinds of weaponry so that he could hunt down that bastard who ruined his Christmas and every other person that has a beard, because to him, they're all the same. They're all the same one. And that is the evil mall Santa that was such a dick to him. And that's why he has Santa Claus looking beard on the skull, on his uniform, and right there in the front of his belt. Like he really needs to have some manscaping done. That
Yeah.
is the secret origin of Beard Hunter.
So we have Billy Bob Thornton to thank for Beard Hunter. All right, but the real deal, Dan, with Beard Hunter, his actual name is Ernest Franklin. He
My name
was,
was better.
yeah,
What was it?
I agree.
Lember Schmidt.
That goes better than Ernest Franklin. So the Beard Hunter, Ernest Franklin, was created by Grant Morrison and Vince Giordano, and he first appeared in Doom Patrol,
Yeah, that track.
Volume 2, number 45, which was entitled The Beard Hunter. He'd been in a few issues, and Beard Hunter now, what's going on? How he didn't, do you want to know why he doesn't like the beards?
Why?
And it wasn't even a full whole story. He was living at home, and he suddenly couldn't grow a beard.
Does he have alopecia?
Let's see. Bush says, yeah, since he hates beards, he should have a car shaped like a mustache and call it the Mustache Ride. He couldn't grow a beard, so then he he wanted to kill bearded men. Yeah, his war against beards began from killing his stepfather. Then he continued to kill all bearded men that he met. All right, his stupid stepdad ruined for all of us, so he'd be after us, Dan. But then he was hired by the Bearded Gentlemen's Club. Let's see, yeah, okay, so yeah, he was hired by the Bearded Gentlemen's Club of Metropolis to kill Niles Calder. And as you see, Mr. Keith says, "What's his weakness? A long camping trip?" he's just physically unable to to grow out a beard, so he technically would be fine, but he would probably hate everybody else growing their beards. So he went after Niles, and as we see, Niles is waiting for him. Niles is prepared. Like Niles is running, and then he slipped on all these cans where you see it ripped open his outfit, and it even made Beard Hunter cry. That's why he's like, I can't let him see me crying. But eventually, despite wounding Niles, let's see, Mr. Keith says, yeah, can he have a crossover with Duck Dynasty?
Yeah,
He'd
it's
be
gonna
furious.
it's gonna be him versus Grizzly Adams. You see, they're bringing Duck Dynasty back too. There's a tangent, but
I did not see that. But while going after Niles, as you see, Niles is injured there. However, Beard Hunter got electrocuted and died. He died at the age of 36. And, however, when his time came up and it was time to go, he was being greeted by angels, he suddenly realized that they had what he hates. They all had beards. So that's what happened to him.
Like,
Of
put
course,
that panel up again real quick. The one, the one with all the cans.
let's see the cam one. Yeah.
Do you see what it says on the can? It says Heinz 57. Who has ever seen Heinz 57 come in a can with a picture of soup on it? Do they know what Heinz 57 even is? It's not soup.
I do not think they know. Yeah, but so those Heinz 57s with the soup cans were what hurt him. He actually had no powers, but he was, trained as Mark Smith, so he was honestly pretty good with a gun, but wasn't much of. He didn't have any special powers or anything like that. And before, yeah, like that, he was 36 years old, living with his mom when he, eventually killed his stepdad. But how and then became this couldn't kill Niles. Who said electrocuted? He can be called the Electric Shaver now. There you go. But that was it. That's the last of him. However, he was this character. Some may say he's bad. Some may say he sucks. But he got to be on the Doom Patrol show, the live action show, and that's how they made him look.
Oh
He was
yeah.
he was not muscular. They gave him, instead of the blonde hair, they gave him black hair. And on this show, they did give him some powers, though. However, I think he still looks like an F-lister there as well.
Oh, he looks like even more of an F-lister there.
Yeah, so because I mean, normally he ambushes or electric razor, but yeah. So I mean, looks wise, aside from the beard, he's kind of your average character. Nothing too special, nothing too bad. But however, like you said, Dan, what is the point of needing to wear beards all over his belt?
I mean, it looks like he's got a belt full of tribbles.
Yeah, it does. And then for your whole thing to be you are the beard hunter and you hunt men that have beards. Yeah, you're an F-lister. However, I see the name of this episode, and I'm wondering who Jamie was referring to when he said like the weirdest hero. Does he refer to Beard Hunter? Does he think Beard Hunter's a hero?
I
Is
mean,
that
I've
just
never
his way
seen.
of wanting someone to take us out, Dan? Because we've both got beards.
I mean, I've never seen Jamie with a beard, so
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask Jamie. Be like, Jamie, what's up with you and Beard Hunter? Because Beard Hunter is not a good guy. He is a bad guy.
I will say that he does not get off the F list. But also, you have to realize, too, that him, everyone has to know that him being created for Doom Patrol. If you've ever read Doom Patrol, the it is the theater of the absurd. So it's not supposed to be like super cool characters that are introduced in there. It is weird, bizarre, lame characters. That's kind of the point. So yeah, it's not like they were trying to create a cool character. Then oh yeah, we got this. Like he was
Yeah,
intentionally
he was
created.
made pretty much for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what the cool thing. I do like comics and they are like that. It just it makes me want to read more Doom Patrol to say,
yeah.
okay, I'm sure there's more crazy characters like old Beard Hunter there.
I mean, Tommy Wiseau was someone that could very much have existed in the Doom Patrol universe. And maybe
Hey,
he did. Maybe that's where he came from. Maybe he was, he was in a Doom Patrol comic and he came to life.
well, going to that random panel, he's technically in the in Marvel's universe, he's a wanted alien. But yeah,
Hey, could be.
but maybe he's in multiple universes. Like Dracula, and he's around. He fights
Yeah.
Marvel and DC. But the Beard Hunter is only DC, and he goes to the F list. I say he stays there, and he's not gonna have a good time because I'm sure with all the characters being in the F list, there's some bearded ones. So
So yeah, he goes on the F list. He stays on the F list. He is the F list.
that is right. And now, Dan, it's time for our review. Okay, and today we are reviewing Cable, Blood, and Metal.
Oh, I hear some tape coming off.
That's just me opening it. I wanted to read. I'm just gonna take the credits right from the story itself. That is why I will do that. That's why you heard some tape coming off. Because as we started, Cable, Blood, and Metal is a 2-issue story. Both issues are about 42 pages each, and they don't have advertisements in there. It's just straight story. Cable, Blood, and Metal. The writer, Fabian Akiza. Penciler, John Romita Jr. Inker, Dan Green. And go to the next page with the letterer being Bill Oakley and the colorist being Brad Fancata. The assistant editor was Lisa Patrick. The editor was Bob Harris, and the editor-in-chief was Tom DeFalco. So Dan, this story, we got Cable, and he's being hunted. This story does go back and forth at certain points with Cable and his wild pack or his 6-pack,
Which
but
they even address in that the name. Yeah, this was Cable's first solo book out.
yeah, at last,
Even though it was
X
only 2
Force's
issues.
mysterious leader in his own limited series.
Yes.
Yeah, so we got that, and he's finding out Strife is going after these old artifacts, and so he's figuring out why. But then at the same time, Garrison Kane has been sent to hunt down Cable, and the two eventually team up to go take on Strife. And this story leads a little bit. It's a little bit before the Executioner song happens, which Executioner song I absolutely love.
Yeah, that was
But
good.
this is this is 90s. This is the when people say the 90s and they're so edgy and the big outfits and a lot of action. So sometimes if you're not a fan of that, you might be like, "Oh, this is cheesy." If I did grow up in the 90s, so I did grow up liking this. There is a lot of action, so it is not boring. It's not a snore fest. A lot of action, and I'm a huge Cable fan. I like Cable, I like Strife, I like Garrison Kane. So it's characters that I do love. But yeah, so there's certain parts I like where the ninjas come out and before seeing Silver Samurai, the ninjas come out and Garrison Kane's like ninjas and Cable's like, oh, things, basically saying like, oh yeah, thanks for telling me, I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
And then later on, Garrison Kane says something similar to that, like, oh, thanks for pointing that out when they see like a huge temple. There's the temple. I kind of like that because so many times in comic books, characters we see stuff and then they go on and talk about what they're seeing, or in the middle of a fight, they'll be like, I'm punching so and so because it hurts their chest and it will slow them down. Like, who really talks like that?
Yeah.
But there are faults to it. Like I said, sometimes I felt sometimes with the 90s when they try to be too edgy, they try to be too rough. But overall, I say this is a fun story. I enjoy it. Like I said, it's if you're able to get past the 90s kind of edginess, I think you could really enjoy it. I really do. I really like the characters. Like I said, I'm a big Cable fan, so I liked seeing him. And this was, like I said, the first time he had the first time Cable had a series for himself. It was
Yeah.
Cable as the lead, and then obviously because he was an X Force, but that's with the team. This is just Cable, and then later he got his own series, Cable by himself. But like I said, this is for if you're a fan of Cable, if you're a fan of Garrison Kane, Strife, all those characters, and you're fine with 90s stuff, then I think you can enjoy this action packed 2-issue limited series. For me, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's fun. It's good action. Every now and then, the artwork, I would notice certain things like maybe, okay, their knee looks a little bit, every now and then with the anatomy, sometimes, the knee's looking a little bit bigger. Okay, they looked a bit different in this panel from that one. So I can't say it's perfect when there are those obvious mistakes. There's some cool splash panels I like, or splash pages, I should say. Yeah, with the two, they do that quite a bit sometimes, and like I said, some people might work for. For me, I think it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed the story. I think it's fun. I said it's fun. 90s Cable taking on Strife and leads to one of my favorite X-Men stories. So me, I love it. This is one that I was glad to go over. And I, Tony Kruger on the Codex Podcast, give Cable, Blood and Metal a 9.2 out of
Wow.
10. I really like this one. But Dan, I'm curious as to your opinions. You're not so easy as me. So I'm curious
Um.
what you think.
Yeah. When you said blood, Cable, I was like, all right, look, and then as soon as I looked it up, I go, oh yeah, I remember this. I bought it when it came out and read it then. Sold it years ago when I sold, got rid of a bunch of stuff, and I sold all my Cable books. It's there's nothing super original in it. Like you said, it's 90s, so it's a lot of action. It's got a trope that I think we've seen before where it's the one guy, that's off on the mission, and then his flashbacks to the to past missions, and then
Haunted
someone,
cast. Yeah.
yeah, and then as the story progresses, you get a little bit more of this backstory, so stuff makes more sense. Characters are introduced, and then you see them in the backstory, and there's the misunderstanding where they're like, oh, I know Cable is Strife, and then it turns out he's not Strife. That they're, which Cable also finds out at the same time, like, oh my god, he's my face, and sorry if there's spoilers. This book came out decades ago. It's well known,
92, yeah.
the relationship between Cable and Strife. So when I should ask where time travel goes back, but yeah, it's so it's a trope that we've seen before. It's done pretty well in this story. The it, it has some things that have later been contradicted. Like you said, Garrison Kane is
Mhm.
Weapon X in this, and it's like, oh, this is a cool sounding name, and they were had the Wolverine Weapon X thing not too long before this. But now as they've kind of retcon to be like, oh yeah, the X is 10, so he was Weapon 10. Like it doesn't make any sense that there would be another Weapon 10, that he would be Weapon 11 or Weapon 12 or whatever. But you know, but he got to have that X because it's edgy and it's 90s.
That's extremely edgy.
The artwork. I've said it many times before. I'm not a fan of John Romita Jr.'s artwork. I think it's too blocky. And it definitely is in this. Everything is drawn. Every character is drawn in like gigantic proportions.
You
The
tell me this is blocky.
the big blockiness. The giant. Everybody's got the giant shoulder pads and the cybernetic arms and the humongous guns and the loads and loads of pouches and all of that stereotypical 90s aesthetic that you could just look back at and you're like, oh my god. I found it to be pretty annoying that Cable's eye was lit up every time you saw him on panel, that it's always glowing, and not just glowing, but it's like huge crackling glowing. Like,
Right, it was like the whole time. Yeah, it wasn't ever normal. I don't think.
yeah, every panel he's in, it's like that, which I don't know why he chose that stylistically, since he'd never been portrayed like that, where it was always doing that. So, the artwork to me is just terrible. But again, I'm not a JR fan. So for me, I'll say a 6 out of 10. It's if you're a Cable fan, it's something that you got to read because it does fill in a lot of his backstory. If you're not a Cable fan, it's not really anything you got to read. You can skip over it. It's you know it's 90s to its core.
Yeah. So,
All
like we
the
say, if
good,
you
all
can't
the
handle that, yeah, like if you don't like all like if you like I said, we kind of know to expect. Okay, 90s, the pouches. I kind of know that. Even I kind of like laugh at it now. But if you don't like it, if that stuff really annoys you, then it wouldn't be the story for you. If you can get past
dialogue.
it
Yeah,
is.
the dialogue. A lot of it is just kind of like, eh. It's it's like a lot of the characters. Especially him in the Wild Pack / Six Pack. Yeah, that's
Bruce
just how he draws
Bruce Ramirez
everything.
made everyone square shaped in that one Batman Punisher book.
That's how he draws everything. That's why I think he's a terrible artist to do Spider-Man. They keep putting him on Spider-Man books. Yeah, that's true. They do have, a history of eye
Yeah. Mr. Keats says, yeah, the Summers family is notorious for their eye problems.
But yeah, the dialogue in it, like I said, especially with him and his team, it's reeks to me of cheesy 80s and 90s action film dialogue where everybody's trying to sound really cool and badass all the time. And it's like, nobody talks like this.
Wait, we don't talk that cool?
So,
Yeah, Dan. Sure.
so,
Whatever.
so I'll say 6 out of 10.
So, Cable, Blood, and Metal. Dan goes with a 6 out of 10. And I go with a 9.2 out of 10. We see that. There's those colors out.
Yeah, look at the eye. Look at his eye on that. It's like that every panel that you see him in.
For anything, Dan, excuse me, I had this open. What do we see right there?
Yes.
More eye.
And look at, isn't his hair colored wrong in that?
So that's what I meant. That was why, yeah. See, because I did notice that even too, there was a part where Garrison Kane, his skin color, right? He is more of like, let's say, like me and you, but and then there was when he looked really dark. I'm like, okay, I get it, it's dark, but I don't think the moon being out would make him look completely like a different person. So that's why I'm gonna give it the 10 because I really like I said enjoy this. It's 90s fun action. Something I'm like, oh, if I read it as a kid, I know I probably would have went through it many times. It's good fun, but it does have its flaws.
I also got annoyed really in the second issue. We'd be reading it and You're like, okay, then you turn the page, like, oh, I gotta turn it like this, and you like turn it like, oh, now I gotta turn it back here, and then like, oh, and you kept having to turn the, like that
To
because
me, that really didn't bother me much. Yeah, it was
well,
just,
I don't have the actual issues anymore. Like I said, I sold all those years ago, so I was reading it online. So I'd be having to do this and then like turn my head to look at it like this.
oh, okay, yeah,
On the
yeah, that
laptop
makes it
screen
definitely
like
different. Yeah.
this. And I was just like, oh, f this book. Like,
So definitely, yeah. So if you are going to read it, I recommend in actual comic form because online, as Dan said, you'll be turning your head, breaking your neck to read a lot of a lot of the pages.
yeah.
But everybody, what do you think? Like I said, me and Dan are pretty split on this one. What do you think of Cable, Blood, and Metal? And do you think it should have more pouches?
Hmm.
All right,
They should do a Rob Liefeld book where it actually has a pouch attached to the book.
that would be. But if they do release, if the pouch ever gets his own comic book,
Yes,
that's what they should do with that. Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's one of his best characters, the pouch.
Yes.
But everyone, that wraps up our review of Cable Blood Metal, and that pretty much brings our show to its conclusion. But thank you all for joining us. We'll be having more episodes of Codex Podcast soon, every week, every Wednesday. Next week will be me, Uncle Gary, and Mighty Mike. And of course, you can catch Dan on more shows like tomorrow's Comic Character of the Week. And who is it, Dan?
Yeah, we're not doing it tomorrow.
There is none tomorrow.
No, Gary is taking the week off because he leaves tomorrow to drive to Carolina for Heroes Con. Thank you, Mr. Keith. Thank you, everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
He took the week off to do that. We weren't sure if Jamie was going to be back or not. So we just said it was going to be me and just Sal. We asked Sonny, and Sonny bailed on us after saying he could do it. And then
That's what I think.
So we just said, we'll just take the week off. We're going to go. So we'll do it next week. Next week is Gary's pick, and we'll be doing Commandy.
Oh, okay. Commandy.
Thank you, Boo.
Thank you.
And then we will be on Saturday night, though Gary will not be on because, again, he'll be at Heroes Con. But it's going to be me, Sal, Jamie, and then we're going to have Louie from Heroes Corner Comics on with us.
All right, so that should be good. That should be a good one. So yeah, so I misspoke. There won't be Comic Character of the Week tomorrow, but it'll be back. Other shows will be back next week. And you can check Dan out this Saturday, Comics Unleashed. And I know you've got some cool comic books to show everybody, of course, with the usual stuff. You can catch us on all of the socials at the Codex Station. And of course, if you want to see more things about the team and you want to get some merch and everything, go to www.thecodexstation.com. And with that, I say, first of all,
thank you.
One more thing. Don't forget, Codex has their giveaway. So get in on that. Get some great comic books. And what were you going to say, Dan?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Commandy will be cool. And it's not going to be live, but on Friday, I'm scheduled to do an interview with comic book writer and editor Christopher Priest. Well, Jim Owsley, who then changed his name to Christopher Priest. But, yeah, he's written a bunch of stuff over the years, been editor on Conan and Spider-Man, and he wrote the first Falcon miniseries. He wrote Power Man and Iron Fist, and he was the one that wrote the issue where Iron Fist was killed. He created and wrote The Crew, a short-lived series for Marvel. He was one of the guys that helped found Milestone Comics. He helped co-create the character Static. He co-created Quantum and Woody for Valiant Comics. So scheduled to do an interview with him on Friday.
That's good stuff. So you'll do it, and then probably within the next week it should be released.
Yeah, probably a week or two. Depends on how when Jamie wants to schedule it for.
Yeah. So everybody, the Codex Station always has great stuff. We're planning to put out there for you all. And remember, in case you miss us, like let's say tomorrow, if you miss Comic Character of the Week, you can always just go on our YouTube page and check out any episode you want.
I think we've got over 100 of them now, right? You can go back and if you've missed any, you can go back and watch that.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, so over 100 episodes of Comic Character of the Week. This was episode 158 of the Codex Podcast. And then we got so many other videos, other shows, clips, everything. So thank you all for joining us. Once again, I'm your host, Sonny Cougar. I was joined by my co-host, Dan Kelly. Hope you all have a week that is a 10 out of 10. Take care.